I'm Daniel, a 42-year-old architect with a penchant for precision. My life with Claire, my wife of 15 years, felt like a blueprint I drafted with care. Every line deliberate, every angle perfect. We lived in a restored Victorian in Portland, our home a canvas of shared dreams. Claire, a curator at a local gallery, filled our world with color. Her laughter, her wild curls, her habit of leaving half-finished sketches on every surface. Our daughter, Lily, 10, was our anchor, her chatter the heartbeat of our days. But lately, I'd noticed cracks in the foundation. Claire's late nights at the gallery, her distracted glances, the way her phone buzzed incessantly, always angled away from me. I chalked it up to stress. Her big exhibit was weeks away. Still, doubt gnawed at me, a termite in the beams of our marriage. Last Tuesday, I came home early, arms full of groceries for Lily's school bake sale. The house was quiet, too quiet. Claire's car was in the drive, but she wasn't in her studio or the kitchen. I called out, my voice echoing. Upstairs, I found her in our bedroom, sitting on the edge of the bed, her face pale, eyes wide. "You're early," she stammered, tucking her phone under a pillow. Her blouse was misbuttoned, one cuff undone. I laughed it off. Claire was always a mess when deep in work, but the air felt wrong, like a room after a storm. That night, she barely touched her dinner, her fork tracing circles in the mashed potatoes. Lily prattled on about her science project, oblivious to the tension. I watched Claire, searching for the woman I knew, but her eyes dodged mine, lost in some private fog. The next day, I couldn't focus. Blueprints blurred on my screen. I kept replaying her flustered face, the hidden phone. Was I paranoid? I'd never been the jealous type, but something primal stirred in me, a need to know. I decided to check her phone, just once to ease my mind. That evening, while she showered, I slipped into our bedroom. Her phone lay on the nightstand, passcode unchanged since Lily's birth year. My hands shook as I opened her messages. There it was, a thread with Evan, her assistant at the gallery. "Miss you already," he'd written, time-stamped yesterday afternoon. My stomach churned. Another message, from Claire. "Can't stop thinking about it." My vision tunneled. I scrolled further, each word a hammer to my chest. They'd been meeting not at the gallery, but somewhere else. My wife, my Claire, was slipping away, and I hadn't even noticed the theft. I didn't confront Claire that night. My mind was a storm, but I played the part of devoted husband, tucking Lily into bed, kissing her forehead, promising to help with her volcano model. Claire sat in the living room, flipping through an art catalog, her face a mask of calm. How could she sit there, so composed, while her betrayal burned through me? I wanted to scream, to shatter the silence, but I needed proof, something undeniable. Evan, her assistant, was a wiry 30-something with a smug grin I'd always disliked. I'd met him at gallery events, his handshake too firm, his eyes lingering on Claire a beat too long. I dismissed it as professional camaraderie. Now every memory twisted into evidence. The next morning I called in sick, a rarity for me. Claire left for the gallery, her goodbye kiss a fleeting brush against my cheek. I waited until her car disappeared, then drove to her workplace. The gallery was a sleek space, all glass and white walls, Claire's domain. Evan was there, arranging frames, his movements casual, oblivious to the predator in me awakening. I didn't approach him. Instead, I parked across the street, watching. At noon, Claire emerged, her arm brushing Evan's as they walked to a cafe. They laughed, heads close, her hand grazing his sleeve. My grip tightened on the steering wheel, knuckles white. This wasn't a work lunch. It was intimacy, flaunted in broad daylight. I followed them over the next few days, a ghost in my own life. They met at odd hours, a park, a bookstore, once a motel on the city's edge. Each sighting carved deeper into me, but I needed more than stolen glances. I installed a tracking app on Claire's phone, hidden in a software update. It felt like a violation, but her deceit justified mine. The app pinged her locations, the gallery, home, and, repeatedly, an address I didn't recognize. A quick search revealed it was Evan's apartment. My chest tightened, imagining her there, in his space, shedding the life we'd built. I pictured her laughter, her touch, gifts meant for me, now his. Lily's school play was that Friday. Claire and I sat in the auditorium, her hand in mine, a performance of unity. She clapped as Lily, dressed as a tree, swayed on stage. I watched Claire, her smile radiant, and wondered how she could love our daughter so fiercely yet betray me so easily. After, we took Lily for ice cream, her chatter filling the car. Claire reached for my hand, but I pulled away, claiming I needed both for the wheel. Her brow furrowed, but she said nothing. That night, I lay beside her, awake, plotting. I wouldn't just expose her. I'd unravel her world, piece by piece, until she felt the weight of her choices. The tracking app became my obsession, a digital leash on Claire's lies. Saturday morning, it pinged. Evan's apartment, 10:17 a.m. She told me she was meeting a client. Rage simmered, but I needed more than coordinates. I drove to Evan's building, a nondescript brick complex in a trendy neighborhood. Parking a block away, I waited, my camera ready. At 11:45, Claire emerged, her hair loose, her face flushed. Evan followed, his arm around her waist. They paused at her car, and then my breath caught. She handed him a small, wrapped box. He opened it, grinning, revealing a watch, its face glinting in the sun. It wasn't just any watch. It was identical to the one I'd worn for years, a gift from Claire on our 10th anniversary. The symbolism gutted me. She'd replaced me, not just in her heart, but in her rituals. This was the non-standard betrayal, not a fleeting affair but a deliberate rewriting of our history. She wasn't just sharing moments with Evan. She was gifting him pieces of our life, repurposing our memories. I snapped photos, my hands steady despite the tremor in my chest. They kissed, not a passionate embrace, but a tender, familiar peck, like a couple settled into routine. My marriage, my identity was being erased, and I'd been blind to it. I drove home, the images burning in my mind, each one a brick in the wall of my resolve. That afternoon, Claire returned, humming as she unpacked groceries. "Good meeting," I asked, my voice neutral. She nodded, launching into a story about a fussy client. Her ease, her lies were masterful. I played along, chopping vegetables for dinner, but my mind churned. I needed to know the depth of her deception. That night, I accessed her email, another boundary crossed. There, buried in a folder labeled work, were messages to Evan, not just flirtations but plans. Weekends away, a future without me. One email mentioned after the exhibit, hinting at a timeline. She was biding her time, curating her escape. Lily's laughter pulled me back, her voice calling from the living room. I joined her, helping with a puzzle, but my thoughts were elsewhere. Claire's betrayal wasn't just personal. It was a theft of my daughter's stability. I wouldn't let her dismantle our family. I began collecting evidence. Screenshots, photos, even receipts from her purse, tracing her movements. Each piece was a weapon, but I needed the perfect moment to strike. I wanted her to feel the betrayal's weight, to see her carefully crafted world crumble. Revenge, I decided, wouldn't be loud or violent. It would be precise, a dismantling of her lies so thorough she'd never recover her facade. By Monday, I was a man divided, outwardly the steady husband, inwardly a strategist plotting Claire's downfall. Her betrayal consumed me, but I hid it, kissing her goodbye as she left for the gallery, promising to pick up Lily from school. My days became a dance of deception, mirroring hers. I hired a private investigator, a discreet woman named Marta, who specialized in uncovering hidden lives. Over coffee in a diner, I handed her the photos, the app data, the emails. "I need everything," I said. "Every detail of her with him." Marta's eyes were kind but sharp, promising results within days. I felt a flicker of guilt. Spying on Claire felt like betraying our vows, but her actions had severed that bond first. Marta worked fast. By Wednesday, She delivered a file. Timestamps, addresses, even recordings of Claire and Evan at a bar. Their voices low, intimate. The most damning was a video from a hotel lobby. Claire checking in with Evan, her hand on his back, a smile I hadn't seen in months. But the strangest detail was a receipt Marta found, tucked in Evan's trash. A purchase for custom stationery, embossed with C and E. Claire had always loved personalized gifts, crafting them for me, for Lily. Now she was building a new identity with him, branding their future. This wasn't just an affair. It was a parallel life, one she'd woven with care, leaving me and Lily as relics of her past. I studied the file at night, Claire asleep beside me, her breathing soft. The contrast was surreal. Her peace, my torment. I began to see her differently, not as my wife but as a stranger, a performer in a role she'd outgrown. Yet, I played my part, attending a gallery event Thursday, shaking Evan's hand, my smile ablaze. He complimented my tie, oblivious to my knowledge. Claire glowed, introducing me to colleagues, her arm around me, a perfect act. I wondered how long she'd planned this, how many nights she'd lain beside me, dreaming of him. Lily's science fair was Friday, and we sat together, cheering as she presented her volcano. Claire's hand rested on mine, but I felt nothing, only the cold certainty of my plan. Marta had uncovered one last piece. Claire had opened a separate bank account, funneling money from her salary. She was preparing to leave, financially, emotionally, completely. The cruelty of her precision stunned me. She'd calculated every step, leaving me to discover the ruins. My revenge, I decided, would match her meticulousness. I'd expose her not just to Evan, but to her world, her colleagues, her family, her carefully curated image. She'd lose everything, not through chaos, but through truth, sharp and unrelenting. The weekend arrived, and I moved like a man possessed, my plan crystallizing. Claire suggested a family hike, a rare moment of togetherness, and I agreed, wanting to keep her close, to watch her. We trekked through Forest Park, Lily bounding ahead, collecting leaves. Claire talked about her exhibit, her voice bright, but I saw the cracks, her glances at her phone, her hurried texts when she thought I wasn't looking. I played the doting husband, holding her hand, but my mind was elsewhere, sowing the seeds of her undoing. I decided on a public reckoning, one that would strip her of her carefully crafted persona, but the how and when required precision. Marta called Sunday morning with a final piece. Claire and Evan had booked a weekend getaway, post-exhibit at a coastal inn. The reservation was in her name, paid with her secret account. The audacity of it, planning a future while smiling at me across the breakfast table, fueled my resolve. I began crafting my revenge, not with violence or confrontation, but with exposure so devastating it would leave her nowhere to hide. I contacted the gallery's board, anonymously, planting doubts about Claire's professionalism, hinting at misuse of funds. I sent an email to her sister, Laura, with a single photo of Claire and Evan, no explanation, letting the image speak. Laura, fiercely protective of family, would confront Claire, I knew. I also reached out to Evan's ex-girlfriend, found through Marta's digging, a woman named Tessa who'd been discarded when Evan met Claire. Tessa's voice on the phone was bitter, eager to help. I fed her details, dates, locations, the watch, knowing she'd spread the truth in her circles, tarnishing Evan's reputation. Each move was a thread in a web, tightening around Claire's life. I wanted her to feel the walls closing, to sense her control slipping, before the final blow. That night, Claire cooked dinner, her movements graceful, unaware of the storm I'd unleashed. Lily helped, giggling as she set the table. I watched them, my heart splitting, love for my daughter, rage for my wife. I wondered what Claire saw in Evan, what he offered that I couldn't. Was it his youth, his flattery, or something deeper, a flaw in me I'd never seen? The question haunted me, but it didn't soften my resolve. She'd chosen to rewrite our life, to gift him our memories, our rituals. I'd ensure she paid, not with tears, but with the loss of everything she valued. Her career, her reputation, her carefully curated world. As we ate, I smiled, my plan a secret fire, burning brighter with each passing hour. Monday morning, I woke with a clarity that felt almost cruel. Claire was already up, brewing coffee, her smile a fragile mask. I kissed her cheek, my lips cold, and left for work, but my office was a facade. I was a general now, orchestrating a silent campaign. Marta, my investigator, had uncovered more. Claire had been funneling gallery funds into her secret account, small sums disguised as vendor payments. It wasn't just personal betrayal, it was professional sabotage. The gallery, her pride, was tainted by her greed for a new life with Evan. This discovery sharpened my plan. She'd lose not just me, but the world she'd built. I met Marta at a park, away from prying eyes. She handed me a USB drive. Audio of Claire and Evan discussing their plans, oblivious to a hidden recorder in his apartment. After the exhibit, we're free, Claire's voice said, smooth as silk. Daniel won't suspect until it's done. Evan laughed, promising her Paris, a gallery of their own. My stomach twisted. She wasn't just leaving. She was dreaming bigger, using me as a stepping stone. I thanked Marta, my voice steady, but inside, I was a furnace, burning for justice. That afternoon, I contacted the gallery's accountant, posing as a concerned donor. I dropped hints about discrepancies, enough to spark an audit. Claire's meticulous facade would unravel under scrutiny. I also sent an anonymous tip to a local art blog, suggesting favoritism in her assistant's promotions. Evan's rapid rise under her wing. Gossip spreads fast in tight circles. I wanted her colleagues whispering, doubting her integrity. At home, Claire was distracted, snapping at Lily over spilled juice. I soothed our daughter, my eyes on my wife, noting her fraying edges. She sensed something I could tell, but she didn't know the storm was mine. Lily's bedtime story was my refuge, her small hand in mine grounding me. Claire joined us, her presence a mockery of family. I read about knights and dragons, my voice calm, but my mind plotted. I'd invited Tessa, Evan's ex, to the exhibit's opening next week. She'd agreed to attend, armed with my evidence, ready to confront them publicly. The thought of Claire's face, her carefully curated night shattered, fueled me. I wasn't just exposing her. I was rewriting her narrative, forcing her to live the ruin she'd planned for me. As Claire kissed Lily goodnight, I smiled, a predator in disguise, my trap tightening with every step she took toward her own downfall. The week crawled, each day a test of my restraint. Claire was a whirlwind, preparing for the exhibit, her phone a constant hum of texts. I watched her, cataloging every lie. Late meeting, she'd say, returning with Evan's cologne faint on her skin. I played my role, supportive husband, picking up her dry cleaning, arranging catering for the opening. She thanked me, her eyes soft, and I wondered how she could feign love so effortlessly. My evidence grew. Bank statements, emails, a photo of her car parked at Evans at 2 a.m. Each piece was a brick in my fortress, unassailable. Wednesday, the gallery audit began. I tipped them well. Claire's secret account was flagged within hours. She came home pale, claiming a mix-up with invoices. I nodded, feigning concern, but my pulse raced. The board was circling, her reputation teetering. Laura, her sister, called that night, her voice sharp. I overheard Claire's side, defensive. It's not what you think, Laura. The photo I'd sent had done its work. Family ties strained, her safety net fraying. I poured her wine, my face sympathetic, hiding the satisfaction curling in my chest. Tessa was my wild card. We met Thursday, her anger a mirror to mine. She'd loved Evan, believed his promises, until Claire stole him. I gave her the USB drive, the recordings, the hotel receipts. Make it public, I said. At the exhibit. Her eyes gleamed. She wanted Evan humiliated as much as I wanted Claire exposed. We planned her entrance. She'd arrive mid-speech, armed with truth, shattering their illusion. I felt no pity. Claire had chosen this path, gifting Evan our memories, our rituals, like the watch that mocked my own. Friday, Lily's school concert kept us tethered to normalcy. Claire clapped as Lily played her recorder, but her smile was tight, her phone buzzing in her purse. I squeezed her hand, my grip a silent warning. That night, I hacked her gallery email. Another line crossed, finding a draft to Evan. After this, we're done hiding. The exhibit was her finish line, her escape from me. I forwarded it to myself, another weapon. As we lay in bed, her breathing even, I stared at the ceiling, my plan a symphony nearing its crescendo. The opening was 2 days away. I'd let her bask in her triumph, let her think she'd won, before I tore it all down. Her betrayal was a theft of my life, my daughter's future. My revenge would be surgical, leaving her with nothing but the ashes of her lies. Saturday dawned, the exhibit's eve. Claire was a storm of energy, darting between calls and checklists. I offered to help, driving her to the gallery, carrying crates of wine. Evan was there, his grin a taunt. "Thanks, man," he said, clapping my shoulder. I smiled, imagining his face tomorrow, stripped of smugness. Claire barely looked at me, her focus on frames, lights, her perfect stage. I lingered, unnoticed, overhearing her with Evan in a corner. "Tomorrow, it's all ours." Her voice was a lover's promise, not a curator's. My jaw clenched, but I stayed silent, my time near. At home, I prepared my final moves. I printed the evidence, emails, photos, bank records, compiling a dossier. I mailed copies to the gallery board. Time to arrive post-opening, ensuring Claire's disgrace lingered. I also sent a package to Evan's landlord, hinting at unethical conduct in his apartment, planting seeds of eviction. My cruelty surprised me, but her betrayal justified it. She'd rewritten our life, given him my place. I wanted them both to feel the ground shift, to lose their footing as I had. Lily sensed the tension, asking why Mommy was so jumpy. I hugged her, promising everything would be okay. Protecting her was my anchor, but I knew the fallout would hurt her too. I hated Claire for that, for gambling our daughter's stability. That night, I attended a pre-exhibit dinner with Claire, her colleagues toasting her vision. I raised my glass, my toast sincere to their eyes, but laced with irony. To Claire, who builds worlds. She blushed, unaware I meant her lies. Evan sat across, his gaze on her, and I savored the secret of their coming ruin. Back home, Claire collapsed into bed, exhausted. I lay awake, my mind a chessboard. Tessa would strike first, her public confrontation the opening gambit. The audit's results would follow, then the board's outrage, Laura's betrayal, the blog's gossip. Each piece was in place, a domino line waiting to fall. I felt no joy, only a cold necessity. Claire's non-standard betrayal, gifting Evan our rituals, our history, was a theft of my soul. My revenge would be her mirror, reflecting her deceit back tenfold. As dawn crept in, I rose, ready for the day that would end her charade, my heart a fortress, unyielding. Sunday, the exhibit's opening, was Claire's pinnacle. The gallery glowed, art pulsing on every wall, her vision realized. She wore an emerald dress, her curls tamed, every inch the celebrated curator. I stood beside her, the proud husband, my suit crisp, my smile practiced. Guests swirled, critics, artists, Portland's elite, praising her. Evan hovered, his tie matching her dress, a subtle claim I alone noticed. My pulse was steady, my plan a ticking clock. Tessa would arrive at 8 p.m. during Claire's speech. I mingled, shaking hands, my eyes on the door. At 7:45, Claire took the stage, her voice warm, thanking the team, her gaze lingering on Evan. I clapped, my hands mechanical as guests nodded approval. Then the doors swung open. Tessa strode in, her presence a blade. She wore red, defiant, clutching a folder, my evidence. Claire faltered mid-sentence, her eyes locking on Tessa. The room stilled, sensing drama. Tessa marched forward, her voice cutting. "Claire? Evan? Care to explain this?" She held up a photo, Claire and Evan at the motel, unmistakable. Gasps rippled. Claire's face drained, her microphone trembling. Tessa didn't stop. She tossed the folder onto a table, paper spilling. Emails, receipts, the watch's purchase record. "You stole my life," Tessa said, glaring at Evan, then Claire. "And you betrayed your family." Guests whispered, phones emerging. Evan stepped forward, stammering, but Tessa cut him off, playing a recording. Claire's voice, promising him a future. The room was a furnace of shock. Claire's eyes found mine, pleading, but I looked away, my face stone. She'd woven this moment, not me. The board members huddled, their faces grim. A critic slipped out, likely to a blog. Claire tried to speak, but her voice broke, the microphone amplifying her collapse. I stayed back, letting Tessa's storm rage. She'd been my weapon, but her pain was real, her confrontation a mirror to my own. Evan fled, pushing through the crowd, leaving Claire alone on stage. She stepped down, guests parting, her dress a mockery of her triumph. I approached, my voice low. "We'll talk later." She nodded, tears brimming, but I felt nothing. The gallery, her sanctuary, was now her ruin, and my revenge was only beginning. We drove home in silence, Claire's hands twisting in her lap. Lily was at a friend's, spared this night's wreckage. The house felt hollow, our life a shattered blueprint. Claire tried to speak, her voice a whisper. "Daniel, I'm sorry." I raised a hand, stopping her. "Not now." I needed her to stew, to feel the weight of her exposure. The gallery was buzzing. I'd seen the blog post before we left, headlined "Curator Scandal." Her career was crumbling, her reputation ash. Laura had texted her. A single word, "Why?" My seeds were sprouting, her world shrinking. I poured a whiskey, sitting in the dark, while Claire retreated upstairs. The dossier I'd mailed would hit the board tomorrow, sealing her dismissal. Evan's landlord had already called him. Marta confirmed, threatening eviction. Tessa's social media was ablaze, her posts viral in art circles, branding them both pariahs. I'd orchestrated a symphony of ruin, each note precise. Yet victory was hollow. Claire's betrayal, the watch, the stationery, the stolen rituals, had gutted me. She'd gifted him our life, leaving me a ghost in my own story. I checked on Lily's room, her stuffed animals neat on the bed. Protecting her was my priority, but the truth would reach her eventually. I hated Claire for that, for tainting our daughter's world. My revenge wasn't done. I planned to confront her tomorrow, with every piece of evidence, forcing her to face the depth of her deceit. Then, I'd file for divorce, ensuring she lost custody, her secret account exposed in court. She'd have nothing, no family, no career, no future. As I sat, the whiskey bitter, I realized my cruelty matched hers, but she'd forged this path. Her non-standard betrayal demanded a non-standard reckoning, and I was its architect. Monday morning, the house was a tomb. Claire sat at the kitchen table, her eyes red, her coffee untouched. Lily was at school, spared this reckoning. I placed the dossier before her, photos, emails, bank records, the watch receipt, a monument to her deceit. "Explain," I said, my voice ice. She flinched, hands trembling, but her words came, halting. "It wasn't planned, Daniel. Evan, he saw me, really saw me." I laughed, a bitter sound. "Saw you? He stole you, and you gave him our life." I pointed to the watch receipt. "This was ours, Claire. You gave him my place." Her face crumpled, but I pressed on, detailing every lie. The motel, the secret account, the Paris dreams. She sobbed, claiming she'd meant to stay, to fix us, but her emails to Evan told a different story. "You planned to leave after the exhibit," I said, tossing the forwarded draft onto the table. "You were erasing me." She shook her head, but the evidence was ironclad. I leaned close, my voice low. "You didn't just betray me. You betrayed Lily, our home, everything we built." Her tears meant nothing. They were too late. I revealed my moves. The audit, the blog, Laura's anger, Tessa's confrontation. Her eyes widened, realizing the scope of my trap. "The board's meeting today," I said. "Your job's gone. Evan's landlord is evicting him. Your world is collapsing, Claire, because you chose this." She whispered, "I'm sorry." But it was hollow. I stood, leaving the dossier. "Pack a bag. You're not staying here," she begged, clutching my arm, but I shook her off. My heart was stone, forged by her theft of our rituals. Stationary watches, moments meant for us, now Evan's. My revenge was her mirror, reflecting her cruelty back. That afternoon, Marta confirmed the board's decision. Claire was fired, her embezzlement exposed. The art blog had spread, galleries blacklisting her. Laura called me, furious at Claire, vowing to cut contact. I felt no triumph, only a grim necessity. Lily's stability was my focus now. I'd shield her from the worst, but Claire's actions would ripple. My lawyer was ready, divorce papers drafted, citing her financial deceit to ensure I'd get custody. Claire's non-standard betrayal demanded a non-standard end. She'd lose everything, her identity shattered as mine had been. By Tuesday, Claire's fall was public. The local paper ran a story, "Curator's Scandal Rocks Art Scene." It detailed the audit, her affair, the exhibit's chaos, naming Evan as her accomplice. Social media amplified it, art forums dissecting her betrayal. I read the comments, cruel, gleeful, feeling a pang of unease. Had I gone too far? But then I remembered the watch, her laughter with Evan, the secret account draining our future. She'd orchestrated her escape. I'd merely exposed it. Claire moved to a motel, her belongings in 2 suitcases. I changed the locks, my home now a fortress for Lily and me. She called, pleading to see our daughter, but I refused. "Not until court," I said, my voice firm. Lily asked why Mommy was gone, her eyes wide. I hugged her, saying, "Mommy made some mistakes, but I'm here." The lie burned, but truth would hurt more. I enrolled her in counseling, determined to soften the blow Claire had dealt. Evan vanished, his apartment emptied, Tessa's posts claiming he'd fled town. Her vengeance had intertwined with mine, a wildfire we'd both fueled. I met her for coffee, thanking her. "He deserved it," she said, her smile sharp. So did she. I nodded, but her relish unsettled me. My revenge was calculated, not gleeful. Still, I gave her the USB drive's final copy, a parting gift. She'd keep Evan's name toxic, ensuring he'd never rebuild. The gallery announced a new curator, erasing Claire's legacy. Her colleagues, once allies, shunned her, their silence louder than words. I sent the dossier to her parents, anonymously, ensuring her family's rejection was complete. Each step was a brick in her isolation, mirroring the loneliness she'd left me with. Yet, as I tucked Lily in, her small voice asking for Mommy, I felt the cost. My revenge was righteous, but it scarred us all. Claire's betrayal, gifting Evan our rituals, our history, was a theft of my soul. I'd reclaimed it, but at what price? Wednesday, I filed for divorce, my lawyer wielding the dossier like a scalpel. Claire's secret account, her embezzlement, her documented affair. Each was leverage. I sought full custody, citing her instability, her financial deceit. The lawyer, a shark named Karen, assured me Claire had no defense. "She'll be lucky to get supervised visits," Karen said, her eyes gleaming. I nodded, imagining Claire's face in court, stripped of her charm, her lies exposed under oath. Claire's lawyer reached out, proposing mediation, but I refused. She'd had her chance to confess, to choose us. Instead, she'd crafted a new life with Evan, branding it with our memories. The watch, the stationery, the whispered plans. They haunted me, fueling my resolve. Karen uncovered more. Claire had applied for a Paris gallery job, using gallery funds for the application. The audacity deepened my contempt. She'd planned to flee, leaving Lily and me as afterthoughts. I met Laura at a diner, her face drawn. She'd cut Claire off, heartbroken by the betrayal. How could she? Laura asked, tears falling. I showed her the watch receipt, explaining its meaning. She gasped, understanding the depth of Claire's cruelty. "Protect Lily," she said, gripping my hand. I promised I would. Laura's support strengthened my case. Family testimony would sway the judge. Claire's world was shrinking, her allies gone, her future a void. Lily's counselor reported progress, but her drawings, dark, jagged lines, showed her pain. I blamed Claire, her non-standard betrayal a wound on our daughter's heart. My revenge was nearly complete, but I planned one final strike. I'd learned Claire was jobless, living off dwindling savings. I'd ensure her art world exile was permanent, her name synonymous with scandal. As I drove home, the city lights blurred, my mind on the courtroom, where Claire would face the wreckage she'd sown. Friday, the divorce hearing was a cold theater. Claire sat across the courtroom, her face gaunt, her lawyer fidgeting. Karen presented our case. The dossier, witness statements, the audit's findings. Claire's embezzlement was a hammer, her affair a scalpel, carving away her credibility. Laura testified, her voice breaking, describing Claire's lies. The judge, a stern woman, eyed Claire with disdain. I spoke last, my words measured. She stole our life, gave it to another, and planned to abandon our daughter. Claire's sobs echoed, but I felt no pity. Her lawyer argued she was remorseful, a mother who'd erred. But Karen countered with the Paris application, the secret account, the watch's symbolism. The judge recessed, returning with a verdict. Divorce granted, full custody to me. Claire allowed supervised visits pending therapy. Her financial deceit cost her alimony. She'd repay the gallery. Claire collapsed, her lawyer steadying her. I stood, my face blank, but inside, I was a storm, triumph mixed with grief. Lily was safe, but our family was ash. Outside, Claire approached, her voice raw. "Daniel, please, let me see Lily." I stared, seeing the woman I'd loved, now a stranger. "Earn it," I said, walking away. My revenge was complete, her world dismantled. She'd lost her career, her family, her daughter's trust. The watch, the stationery, the rituals she'd gifted Evan were now relics of her ruin. I'd mirrored her precision, my cruelty a reflection of hers. Yet, as I drove to pick up Lily, the victory felt heavy, a crown of thorns. That night, I burned the dossier in the backyard, the flames consuming Claire's lies. Lily slept upstairs, safe. I'd protected her, but the cost was a fractured home. Claire's non-standard betrayal had demanded a non-standard revenge, and I'd delivered. But the fire's glow illuminated my own scars. Trust, love, hope, all charred. I vowed to rebuild, for Lily, for us, but the path was uncertain, shadowed by the wreckage I'd wrought. Weeks later, life settled into a new rhythm. Lily and I moved to a smaller house, a fresh canvas. She laughed again, her counselor's work a lifeline. I returned to architecture, my blueprints sharper, infused with a survivor's edge. Claire faded from our daily lives, her visits rare, supervised, her presence a ghost. Marta sent a final update. Claire was working retail, her art world closed, Evan a rumor in another city. The scandal lingered, her name a cautionary tale. My revenge had been surgical, leaving her with nothing but regret. I kept the watch, the one matching Evan's, in a drawer, a reminder of her betrayal. Sometimes, I'd hold it, its weight a tether to the pain. Claire's non-standard betrayal wasn't just an affair. It was a theft of our rituals, our history, repurposed for another. The stationery, the watch, the whispered plans. They were knives in my heart, each one a reason for my cruelty. I dismantled her world, mirroring her precision, ensuring she felt the void she'd left in me. Yet victory was bittersweet. Lily's questions, why mommy left, if she'd return, cut deeper than Claire's lies. I protected my daughter, but at a cost. My revenge, though justified, had hardened me, my trust in love fractured. I wondered if I'd become the monster I despised, my cruelty a shadow of Claire's. But then Lily would hug me, her warmth a beacon, and I'd pushed the doubt aside. I'd done what was necessary, a father's duty. One evening, walking through Forest Park, Lily pointed to a bird, her joy infectious. I smiled, truly smiled, for the first time in months. Claire's betrayal had nearly destroyed us, but we were rising, piece by piece. My revenge was complete, her life a ruin, but I chose to look forward, not back. The watch stayed in the drawer, a relic of a war won, but the future was ours, Lily's and mine, built on truth, not lies. Claire's non-standard betrayal had shaped me, but it wouldn't define me. I was Daniel, father, architect, survivor, and that was enough.